So guys, in this video, I'm going to be taking you behind the curtains of one of my one-to-one calls with one of my students. His name is Damien. He makes 5 to 10K per month currently on Upwork, and he wants to get to my level where he's making 40, 50, 60, even close to 100K using this platform. And honestly, I think you get so much value out of this video. We talked about how you can 3x your freelancing income using my upselling strategy. I also talked a little bit about how my philosophy is for following up with clients and closing big deals as well. And just overall talking about the difference between somebody that makes 10K per month on Upwork and somebody makes like 100K per month on Upwork. And I wanted to show those differences in this video. And look, for context, I've never released one of these videos before on YouTube. I usually like to keep it just for them because they are paying a lot of money for it. But Damien was kind enough to actually release this to YouTube because he felt like there was a lot of value here. And I actually genuinely think that this video might be one of the most important videos you watch, especially if you're at 5 to 10K per month on Upwork or just a little bit below that. But enough talking, sit back, grab a coffee, enjoy this video, and just imagine that you're having a 30-minute conversation with me that you've paid for, and enjoy this video. There's a lot of value in here. Enjoy.
Then I seen like your YouTube video just came on my channel. I was like, "Art, let me try that." And I immediately like booked like 2 deals based on I want to ask like your process for upselling. You finish a project, it's good, and then now you're like, all right, let's hop on the retainer now. Like, what does that process look like? Do you do it in the middle of the project? Do you do it?
Great question. Yeah. So, number one, in the beginning, I used to do the upselling. Now, my team does the upselling. Once you have a team, get them to upsell because they're the closest to the code. But for you, as of right now, you're going to want to do the upsells at 2 different stages. Well, actually 3. Right when you're first talking to the client, you should hypothesize other builds with them. Not agreeing to anything, you just talk about it hypothetically. Hey, like once we finish this, we could do this and this and this. They'll be like, yeah, whatever. And I say, don't worry, I'm not agreeing to anything right now. I'm just saying, like, in theory, we could do it. We put that in their head. The second thing, the second time that I go for upsells, or at least start talking about upsells, is once they got some great results. So for example, we just did some lead gen stuff for a manufacturing company. We did like all their instantly campaigns and stuff like that. They got like 3 replies in a day. He was losing his mind. He was like, oh, this is crazy. Boom, message my team, upsell. Now's the time to be like, maybe we could add something. And I'll explain like what I say and how I say it in a second. But the third time is at the end of the project. So like at the end of the project, I'll propose new ideas. And all of this works under the banner that you do a great fucking job, right? Like if you do shit client work, then you'll never get upsell. And I've been lucky enough to have in the last 4 or 5 months, not have any churn. All the clients that we had before, we still have, maybe minus like 1 or 2 clients. It's really valuable. Like you can double, triple your business by having this dialed in, but you have to do amazing client work. If you're going to upsell at the end, go above and beyond towards the end. So if the scope is like this, and this, let's say the scope is here, I'll go a bit over on the scope at the end of the project. But then like when you trust you, wow, like this guy's awesome. They obviously want to do more work with you. It's like implied that they're going to do more work.
Yeah.
I like to get upsells when they're at their highest and happiest moment. It's like for you, like in the mentorship, like I'm going to pitch you to continue doing the mentorship when you've got like great results, right? Because then it's like, well, I'm not going to wait for it to be like when you're in a lull and then it doesn't make sense, right? That's what I would say. I cut deals with my clients as well. So like, let's say, for example, I worked on M&A project, like a mergers and acquisitions project for an investment firm, building them a dashboard to manage their deals. So one thing I did with that deal was I said, look, it's 12K, but that 12,000 can be used as like credit towards the next project. So it's free. It's not free because I'm still getting 12,000, but to them, they get
a $12,000 discount.
Yeah, a $12,000 discount, but the total of the next one is like 60K. So then it's like we get 40K plus 12K. So we've made 50, 60K, but they feel like I actually did that by accident. One thing I would say is whenever you go for upsells, just work in like things that make them feel like they're getting an amazing deal. Part of negotiating is making people feel like they have a great deal. And I always explain this to people. I explain it to the example of like the 160K deal we closed. When we had the 160K deal, we pitched them at 180. They asked, can you bring the price down? Can you bring it to 160? I didn't go, yeah, okay. I literally was on the call. This is like on camera. I was like,
It made it seem like it was a tough decision.
I was like, how would we do that? Like I was saying to my team, I was like, Mike, like, how would we do that? Like maybe we could strip out this thing. might have to get back to you guys about it. But to be honest, just to clarify, if we were to go ahead with that 160 deal, like it's done and dusted, like we're ready to go. I mean, they're like, yeah, as soon as you agree to that deal, let's do it. And then that's when I'd be like, all right, look, I really like working with you guys. I want to have a long-term partnership with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eat the money on the front end for the 160 and in the hopes that we do more work together. And do you know what's funny? That 160K client, they're already talking to us about doing another 100K project. So because of the positioning, the framing is important. Like, for example, we did a video thing and we added a bit of scope to the project and my team just added it and that was it. And I was saying to them, like, if you're going to add something, I love working on this project so much that I like got super inspired. I actually added a few things to this for free. You don't have to pay us anything. It's just because like, I think this would be really valuable to your business. People love that shit because it does not exist for like 99% of freelancers don't do this. Most freelancers are really strict. And that's what we do different is like on the SOWs, we'll set the SOW at this, but we'll do this. We'll say it's going to take 12 weeks and then we'll do it in 8. We always quote, undersell and over deliver. Always. It's like our main thing. And we always like do excellent work. And we have great client relationships and we like check in with the client. I don't send like a PDF to the client and be like, hey, here's the onboarding. There you go. We like sit on a call with them and go through it with them. You know, yeah, it takes an extra 20 minutes, but like that's how you end up having a situation. We have only all of these unlimited reviews. You start getting referrals. Those referrals are coming from outside of Upwork, which is how we've done like 91K last month from outside of Upwork, from the agency, from some of the referrals. So it's really valuable, you know, but I hope that makes sense. There's like a framework, like try to get the most out of every deal. I position it from the beginning that we're going to do an upsell. And if I'm going to do a small project, I always say, look, I'm only doing this small project because I'm in the hopes that we're going to do something bigger, you know? And that doesn't, and like, that makes them feel like you're doing them a favor. But in reality, you would have taken that fucking deal anyway, right? But like, you want them to feel like they're in debt to you so that when you go to ask, it's not like a you taking, it's like, oh, now we're even, now we're like, and you know, it's all about win-wins, bro. Like I always am constantly negotiating. And you have to understand from a psychological perspective, business owners love to negotiate. It's like one of the only things about being a business owner that's fun. Like negotiating is really fun and like cutting deals. I really think about this stuff though with the deals. Like I really like craft deals well. Even today, we sent a deal off for 26K and we originally pitched him at 41. So we brought it down to 26. And I was explaining to my team that like we have like a few levers that we can pull, that we can play with the, like if he basically comes back to us and says no, we can play with the monthly retainer. If he says something else, we can say, well, what about this? Like we'll like work a deal out that makes sense for him. Even like in terms of the payments, like let's say hypothetically speaking, it's not a client that you got from Upwork, but it's a client that you got from somewhere else. Negotiating on the terms of the payment. For example, like they like, let's not do Stripe, let's do Wise because the fees are cheaper. Hey, would you mind paying me in cryptocurrency because then it's straight and then I can keep that money and it's cheaper. Like little things like that matter at a high level because like you want to like extract the most out of those situations. That's how I personally view it. I don't know if I answers your question.
100%, definitely.
Yeah.
You definitely answered my question and more. All right. So yesterday I moved my profile down to 50 hours, $50 an hour, right? And I immediately got like invites from like people looking for full-time hourly work. And I was like, you know, I do not want to do this. And I moved it back up to 115. That was too quick, but like, that's the type of like invites that I try to avoid overall. And then my question to you is, are you still getting those type of invites? And what do you do to like change those to like the full-on?
I work every deal. Two things here that I want to express. Number one, I treat this like a scientist. So like if I'm going to change something on my profile, I'll change one thing or maybe two things max at a time. And then I'll let that bitch run for like 3,500 connects. So let's say you're doing 50 cost per click. Let's assume it's like 75 clicks. And then I'll like look at that as like a campaign and be like, okay, how did this campaign go when I changed those things? And then make a note of it. And then I make a change. And like, I only make small changes to the profile because if you just change everything, then you don't know what worked, what didn't work, and so on. Very common like problem that people make. Second thing is like the data. So you might get 2 or 3 messages asking about full time and be like, fuck that. But that is a very small amount of data to be working with. You also have to understand as well, that what you think success is might not necessarily be what you actually think it is. For example, if every week you get invites a day, right? And out of those, you close like maybe 1 or 2, and they're like, a couple K deals. Great. What if you change your profile and then you only get 1 invite a day? And at the end of the week, you close like a 15K deal or a 25K deal. Technically speaking, from a stats perspective, you would look at it and you'd be like, oh, this is terrible. This is all fucked up. This is not working. But like, now it's actually better. And I've actually experienced this. Like my invites are going down to an extent, right? And I'm spending the same and a bit more, but the quality of the deals is better. I actually work with a few other freelancers who are making like 20K per month plus, and they explain the same thing to me, that they might get 4 or 5 at bats a month that are really solid, but the deals for like 50K, right? Like 30K or 10K. People will be fucking in the DMs like all day spamming people, but it's not necessarily what you want. So that's just something to keep in mind. But that's like hard to know without context. And that's obviously what the mentorship's for. So I can like look at it objectively with you. But in terms of like changing your price, I don't mind you doing that. But any invite I get, I work the deal. Because every person that says they need it full-time, part-time, they are probably not informed. Because like realistically speaking, like a lot of people don't really hire full-time anymore. And like, I'll pitch those people and I'll say, I'll be honest with you, like, I don't think you need full-time. Like, I could do this for you for just like a flat retainer. Like, I think we could even just do it as like project-based. And I've closed many people like that, honestly, like many people. And whether it says hourly or fixed, hourly is the default option when you put a job out on Upwork, which is why it's important to have a client account so you can see these things. But it's the default option. So of course, there's always going to be like 2 or 3 times the amount of hourly jobs as there are fixed. So never even look at any of that shit. Like I had a guy join the mentorship recently, and he's in India. He has like big automation, some of the biggest profiles on Upwork in India. He was telling me like his checklist, he looks at these things and these things. And I was like, I don't look at any of that shit. I just work every deal. And like the biggest clients I have pay me like almost 10K per month myself, and I don't even outsource it. I do the work myself. It's that simple. Keep like 100% of the money. Usually we're hiring full-time prompt engineer. I said, I'll just do a bit of prompt engineering for you, like on a month, like on a fixed price for like a certain amount of prompt engineering. And then we like developed the relationship, and then we got to know each other, and then I closed them for like a fucking huge deal. Sometimes you just got to work deals, bro. Like you just got to have more opportunities to talk to people and build relationships, because you might talk to somebody and then they might refer you to somebody else. And then, so like, I just work every deal.
Do you get like lowballed, like cheap clients in your inbox?
Yes. Always. Nobody can avoid that. Nobody can avoid that. Everybody will get lowballed. Everybody will get those bullshit invites. Everybody will get those things for $5 saying, hey, can you do like English language? I like to work every deal. Like I'll just keep them all around and I just follow up with them all the time. Once a week, I'll just go through every single person and I'll follow up. And you're doing a lot of follow-ups when Upwork blocks you, because they'll say you can't send any more messages today because you sent too many. People don't even know that's a thing because they don't send follow-ups, but like and a certain amount.
How big is your team right now? Like, do you have like an agency account that you use and manage, or?
No, I don't need to, because I still do most of the things myself, and then I just use some internal tools that I've built. Otherwise, my team is in the US, California and Seattle. Actually, I have a US LLC, and like just 2 people. Claude Code, like especially in AI, like with Claude Code, I have like a really talented, amazing developer he's literally been doing development longer than I've literally even been alive. He can run like 50 Claude terminals at once, and he's like the guy that's like helping me crush these like massive deals, these enterprise level deals. And he's amazing. Like I don't even do any of the work. I'm not even in some of the Slack channels. He just handles the whole thing. He's jumping on calls with clients, but obviously he's getting paid very well. I have another guy in Seattle who's also really good, and both of those people, I started on small projects and then worked the way up. And I have like great company culture. I pay people a fuckload of money. I never waste people's time and don't pay them. If I'm waiting for a payment, let's say a client pays on Upwork and then I got to wait that like 5-day period for it to clear on Upwork, I'll just pay them. Little things, right? Like I go above and beyond for the team. I have a rule when it comes to my team that everybody has to be good client facing. If you are the best developer in the world, but you get on a call and you look like shit and your background's bad and you've got like a messy bedroom, I don't want you on my team, because I just can't put you on a call with a client. reason I'm making so much money from Upwork is because my team can get on a call with my clients and they like them more than they like me. And I've had loads of my clients try to poach my team multiple times. Both of them have tried to be poached. Good sign, but they won't leave because I get loads of money. I gave them loads of deals. I have like great communication, and I don't micromanage them. I know I don't need to micromanage them at all. And I make closing deals fun, and I keep them involved in the closing process. This morning, like me and my Seattle guy were like closing a few deals together. I was explaining to him why I do these things and mentor them in the same way like I would mentor like somebody else. Like my team, you try to provide value. And I also
have a whole bunch of questions right here, but like the question answered a lot of them.
way of thinking, the same way that people think that Upwork is full of low-paying clients. Well, choose to believe that, which is statistically not true, then that's the kind of results that you'll get. But like if you think there's massive enterprise level deals on Upwork, people making hundreds of thousands of dollars, me making 50K a month or 100K a month is nothing because there's people making more than me. I have the most views on YouTube for Upwork, and there's people that make more money than me on Upwork. So it's crazy.
Yeah. What I was about to say was honestly like Upwork for a while, and I was like, let me just do cold outbound. I don't want to pay Upwork 10%. It seemed like your YouTube video just came on my channel. I was like, let me try that. And I immediately like booked like 2 deals based off like the first YouTube video that I did. I was like, let me go bam on Upwork. And then this percent when you spending dollars a month on freaking cold email infrastructure.
Truly. Yeah. People forget there's a cost to acquire customers. Like I put a video out yesterday, I think it was Monday, sorry, like 2 days ago. And I had so many comments on that video and people were like, because I was saying it costs money. And I was like, yeah, like starting a company costs money. If I charge somebody 10 grand and I do it through Stripe, 2.9%. If I close a client through Upwork, it charges me 10%. Do you know what's crazy? The UK, we pay even more. We pay like 12-15% in the UK because we pay like VAT on Upwork. So they add extra fees to it. Like, bro, it's crazy. Like pay for it. You know what I mean? But I have loads of people. I have a group chat with my friends who do Upwork, and I've been stuck at the same level for a long time. And I look at their profiles, and their profiles are really small. I'm like, how is your profile that small? But they've been making 10, 20K per month for a long time. And it makes you think like you've been taking the upfront cash thinking that benefits you, but actually you've not been building like the real estate in your profile that's actually going to land you big clients, you know? Now I'm number 1 for NAN in the world and number 1 in the UK for automation. Easy. I can send a loon to any person, any deal on Upwork and be like, by the way, I'm number 1. Closes deals. Do you know what I mean? Like without like I even having to do anything, it closes deals.
I started using the thing you say with your Loom videos, like, oh, I'm top rated plus. You know, that means I'm top 3% of all freelancers in the world.
Yeah. Like, whatever you've got, you should do it. If you're top rated, say that. If you're this, say that. Like use those things, go for it. Put it in your video introduction, things like that.
Yeah.